with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. As Jesus passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. He spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva and smeared the clay on his eyes and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he went and washed and came back able to see. His neighbors and those who had seen him earlier as a beggar said, "Isn't this the one who used to sit and beg?" Some said, "It is." But others said, "No, he just looks like him." He said, "I am." They brought the one who was once blind to the Pharisees. Now Jesus had made clay and opened his eyes on a Sabbath. So then the Pharisees also asked him how he was able to see. He said to them, "He put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and now I can see." So some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath." But others said, "How can a sinful man do such signs?" And there was a division among them. So they said to the blind man again, "What do you have to say about him, since he opened your eyes?" He said, "He is a prophet." They answered and said to him, "You were born totally in sin, and are you trying to teach us?" Then they threw him out. When Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, he found him and said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered and said, "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?" Jesus said to him, "You have seen him, and the one speaking with you is he." He said, "I do believe, Lord." And he worshiped him. The Gospel of the Lord. The light was red. 3 cars were waiting at the intersection headed eastbound. Then, without warning, a Chevy Impala approached the vehicles from behind. It was traveling at an extremely high speed. And without slowing down, the Impala swerved around the other cars and drove into the intersection, just as a van with 8 people passed by from the driver's left side. The Impala smashed into the van's passenger side and pushed it against the concrete barrier of the overpass. The van flipped over the side and landed upside down on the street below. 4 survived and 4 died. Brianna Johnson, 18. Anthony Robinson, 19. Corntrail McKinley, 20. And Richard Boyd, 19. The accident occurred in St. Louis 3 weeks ago, just hours before I arrived and only a few blocks from my hotel. The following day, several people spoke to me about the tragedy. I felt the community's grief as their hearts cried out, "Why did this happen to our beloved sister and brothers? Where is the light?" Often when we can't see the light finds us. The morning began like any other. Ruth and Jacob always ate breakfast with their son. Then one of them would walk him to a place near the pool of Siloam, and there the young man would sit all day and beg for money. You see, he was born blind from birth. On this particular morning, Ruth walked alone with her son. Although she never said anything, she wondered if she had done something wrong to cause her son's blindness. She thought, will my son ever see the light? The young man felt today would be better than others. He sensed the crowds were much larger than usual. People came from all over the country this time of year to make their annual pilgrimage to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. People met with relatives outside the city wall, purified themselves in the pool, and then entered the sacred city. Well, as a group of people passed by, he heard the question he had heard countless times as he sat begging on the street. Who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? And then he felt the mud against his eyes and heard the words, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam." And for the very first time, the young man felt the light. I once had an ambitious friend who worked hard and achieved financial success. He was brilliant, but never satisfied. The more he earned, the more he spent, the more he wanted. He jumped from job to job and from city to city, relationship to relationship. Unfortunately, what he thought was the light was just an illusion. He failed to recognize what truly matters in life. And I must admit, at times, I am no different. Sometimes I get so caught up in my own little world, I fail to see Jesus in the hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, or the sick. I fail to protect the environment or speak out against injustice. Or sometimes I convince myself that something will make me happy. Many years ago, I believed riding a motorcycle would make me happy. I'm sure many of you are having trouble picturing me on a motorcycle, but it's true. I became obsessed with Harley Davidsons. I even visited their factory near York, Pennsylvania, but once I finally had the opportunity to ride one, I thought, this is really dangerous. Harley Davidson motorcycles are not the light. But failure to see the light can be deadly. Just ask the man who drove the Chevy Impala through the intersection early on that Sunday morning, February 26th. The traffic light was clearly red, but he chose to ignore it. And his actions forever altered his life, those in the van, and all their families for generations to come. After the accident, he exited his car, removed his license plate, and ran off into the darkness. The police arrested him a few days later as the community searched for the light. I pray for all the victims, survivors, their families, and especially for this man. Please, God, send them your light. Once the blind man regained sight, he could not contain his joy. A neighbor witnessed the miracle and helped him home. The world was still a confusing kaleidoscope of colors and shapes. And as he approached his home, tears ran down his cheeks. The young man saw his parents for the first time. The word quickly spread throughout the town. And so the religious leaders interrogated him, and the young man couldn't fathom their disbelief. He thought to himself, what is wrong with these people? When has a person ever been cured of blindness from birth? What other proof do they need that Jesus is from God? Does he need to turn water into wine or raise someone from the dead? Why can't they see the light? The young man chooses to become Jesus' disciple, and the leaders ridicule him and expel him from the synagogue. But this does not matter to the man born blind. No, it does not matter, because his eyes do not deceive him. He saw the light. Well, as I sat in a conference room in St. Louis 2.5 weeks ago, I looked out the window and noticed half a dozen police cars drive up and block off the intersection where the fatal accident occurred. And a woman approached, carrying a bouquet of pink balloons. I learned the following day that a group had gathered to pray and remember their deceased loved ones. A picture in the local paper showed a mother resting her head on her daughter's shoulder. The daughter held the balloons, waiting to release them in memory of her friends. I looked closely at their faces, and I saw the light. Although the traumatic wounds may never completely heal, I saw the light. Blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. About 2 weeks ago, I was on vacation in Florida with my parents and family. My father is living with stage 4 cancer. His eyesight is very poor. Although he's still one of the most intelligent people I know, he can't get around like he used to. I watched my mother as she so lovingly took care of him. After 62 years of marriage, their unconditional love for each other remains readily apparent. And I looked into their eyes. I saw the light. I saw the light, and it was beautiful. Today is Laetare Sunday, the halfway point in Lent. So we take time for the penitential nature of the season to rejoice in the Lord. So please find a quiet place this evening. Take out a piece of paper and a pen. Write down those times when you felt or saw the light. And then write down how you'll become the light to others during these final weeks of Lent. Yet Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Feel the light. See the light. Be children of the light.